the prophet Jeremiah spoke these words. For if you truly amend your ways and your doings, if you truly execute justice one with another, if you do not oppress the alien, the fatherless or the widow, or shed innocent blood, then I will let you dwell in this place, in the land that I gave of old to your fathers forever. That's from Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 5. Over 2,500 years ago, Jeremiah, known as the Weeping Prophet, presented the people of Judah with a choice. A decision would need to be made between two very different journeys, which would lead to two very different destinations. One way, the way of business as usual, would lead them to destitution, destruction and death. Instead of flourishing, they would be exiled. The other way, what we may call the narrow path, would lead them to love, liberty and life. The only way to avoid the car crash of civilization and cultural collapse would be for people to heed Jeremiah's words and cease doing what their society considered as being normal. The prophet, aware of their current direction and speed of travel, calls them to slam on the brakes, amend their ways and repent. A new world, the prophet tells us, is possible, but only through serious and sustained systemic change. In Jeremiah 7 verse 5, we see that amending their ways means rejecting business as usual. Number one, no longer, the prophet urges, a people to oppress the outsider. Nationalism, racism and cultural apartheid must lose their power if a new way forward is to be found. 2. No longer, the prophet proclaims, are people to oppress the vulnerable. Economic policies which put profit before the vulnerable must lose its power if a new way forward is to be found. And 3. Jeremiah says that the people must reject the shedding of innocent blood. Violence, empire building and militarism, which sheds the blood of the innocent, must lose its power if a new way forward is to be found. Instead of injustice and oppression, the prophet calls the people to execute justice. To avoid collapse, the rallying cry which must be proclaimed and embodied is no longer that of power games, pride and privilege, but is to be found in the word justice and the hope of justice. Justice is the dream of the prophets which stirs imaginations so that a new world becomes possible. It is the hope of Amos that looks forward to a time when justice will roll on like a river. Justice is also at the heart of God. As Isaiah says, for the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him. To be a friend of God is to do justice. In Jesus, the Word made flesh, we see justice embodied and entwined with extravagant mercy. He welcomes the weak, he gathers the oppressed, and he lays down the prophetic challenge to the unjust structures and systems of his day. Overturning tables, he says, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it into a den of robbers. Ethnocentric apartheid has no place in the justice and covenant-shaped purposes of God. This reflection was written months before the COVID-19 epidemic. But the truth of the prophet is all the more relevant now. May God, in our own day of pandemics and climate breakdown, raise up Jesus-shaped justice prophets who, for the sake of the vulnerable and for the sake of the kingdom, will speak truth to power. Amen.